This bill provides $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. And when you combine that with the tariff revenue that President Trump's America First trade agenda is bringing in, nearly $3 trillion over the next 10 years, that's a projection, according to the Congressional Budget Office. And when you combine that with the Council of Economic Advisors projected growth of 3%, we're going to cut the deficit by $8 trillion over the next 10 years. And look at all of the other pro-growth economic policies this president has taken. He understands the concerns about our nation's crippling debt. That's why we need this bill to pass. It will ultimately reduce the deficit, and the president is very much focused on signing this historic piece of legislation.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. And again, any violence against police officers should not be accepted. Local authorities can handle that. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the president of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings.
I'd love to get your response to Governor Newsom saying, essentially, your actions here are provocative, and the quote that he used was sowing chaos.
Governor Newsom's an embarrassment for the state. He's the one that's feeding this mantra. He supports sanctuary cities. He supports sanctuary laws. If he cared about public safety in the state of California, he would not have a sanctuary for criminals, where criminals get released to the streets of this state every day because of his policy.
We had about $60 billion in tariff revenue in the U.S. And inflation, every measure of inflation is the lowest that it's been for more than 4 years. And so all of our policies together are reducing inflation and helping reduce the deficit by getting revenue from other countries. And how much revenue? I think that you might have covered it. The Congressional Budget Office put out a 10-year estimate that says that the tariff revenue that's already in place right now is going to raise $2.8 trillion over the next 10 years. That's more than their own estimate, their own static estimate for the cost of this entire bill. So that's deficit reduction right there.
There are people who are questioning why you would not support a bill that puts more money into border security, particularly at this moment in time when we see what's going on in Los Angeles this morning. The president had to send the National Guard to Los Angeles. Are you suggesting that the money being spent on the border is too excessive?
What I'm suggesting is that we can add some money to the border, but what they're asking for is excessive. And I'll give you an example. For the fence, they want $46.5 billion. Well, I did the math on this. The current rate, according to the Border Patrol, is $6.5 million per mile. That would be $6.5 billion for 1,000 miles. Nobody's really estimating there's more than 1,000 miles that could be fenced at this point. So that's $6.5 billion versus $46.5. Where's all the money going? I've asked the Trump administration, where's all the money going? As far as hiring new people, I would hire some new people. I would give some bonuses. I'd probably do half as much as what they're asking for because the border is largely controlled right now. And what we don't want is when we wind up looking back at this, have an army of Border Patrol agents that we have on the hook for payments and pensions and everything else. We need to do it judiciously and not in a reckless manner.